The wind came low and cruel that morning, dragging sand across the old tracks like it meant to bury them. What was left of the sky was the color of gunmetal, thick, bruised, waiting. A busted bus sat half swallowed in the dust near the edge of the dead town, its windows clouded, its door rusted open like a mouth that had given up shouting. He saw them there. Two little girls, identical, standing just off the road, feet bare, dresses sun-bleached and torn. They pointed at the bus like it had done something awful, arms trembling, eyes wide, but dry. Not a sound came from them. Not even when the wind took their hair sideways. Silas Cade pulled the reins, slowing the old mule. He hadn't meant to stop, but something held him. He climbed down from the wagon, boots sinking in soft, bone-dry earth. Every step toward them felt like moving through smoke. They didn't run, didn't speak, just stared at the empty bus with a look that didn't belong on children. He kneeled, just enough to meet their height. One of them blinked at him. The other clutched a scrap of paper to her chest. Where's your family? He asked low. No. Answer. He saw then their feet were raw, blistered, one toe bleeding. The wind howled over the highway. A dust devil unfurled in the distance, swirling toward them. He glanced around. No footprints but theirs. No shadows on the horizon. Number? Good reason why two girls this small should be here alone. He reached forward, slow, like he might startle a pair of wild deer. The smaller twin pulled back, but the taller one stepped forward and dropped the paper at his feet. A child's drawing. Crude lines in charcoal, a house on fire. Two stick figure girls holding hands. A third figure stood beside the flames. Tall, wide shoulders, a cross around his neck. He looked up again. You come with me, he said quietly, no protest. He lifted one gently, then the other, setting them on the wagon's blanket. One curled into the other instantly, like they did it every night. As he turned the wagon around, the wind changed. Blew colder, blew mean. Behind them, something moved by the bus. A flicker, tall and fast, like someone had been watching. But when he stopped to look, nothing was there. He left that place with the feeling of eyes in his back. The girls didn't speak for hours. Not a single word. They rode through the edge of Old Hollow, past boarded-up homes with window eyes that never blinked. Silas kept to the southern route, the back trails only the desperate used now. The wind still chased them, but he kept going. One hand on the reins, the other resting near the old hunting rifle wrapped under the seat. By sunset, the sky was nothing but fire smothered in ash. Coyotes howled from the north ridge. Somewhere behind them, a bus rotted beside the road and memories twisted in the wind. He built a fire by the creek. Small, low, just enough to warm a tin of beans. He didn't ask questions. Questions hadn't done him any good in years. He let the silence sit between them like a third ghost. Then one of the girls, the smaller one, reached out and took the hem of his sleeve. Her hand shook. He looked down. She wasn't pointing at anything now, just clinging. Just afraid. All right, he murmured, setting the tin down. You're safe here. The other twin pulled something from her dress, the same paper, and turned it over. On the back was a word scrawled in a child's hand. Edenridge, *. Silas froze. That was a name he hadn't heard since the war. A place lost in the southern? Maps, a mining town turned mission. The last place his wife ever whispered about, before she bled out on a cot in a fevered camp. Before his daughter followed her, coughing red, he swallowed the memory hard and tucked the paper beside his rifle. You ain't going there, he said out loud, not to them, but to the dark. Ain't nothing there now. The wind hissed. Through the trees like it disagreed. The girls fell asleep close together, one with her thumb tucked against the other sleeve. Both shivering, even by the fire. He sat upright most of the night, back against the wagon wheel, watching the tree line. He had no reason to protect them, not really. The world was full of lost things. People walked past them every day, but something had changed when that girl dropped the paper in his hand, something had whispered in the dust. She's yours now. At dawn, a storm rolled in, dry thunder and bitter skies. The kind that didn't bring water, only trouble. He'd barely packed the wagon when he saw it, a trail in the dust. Not wagon wheels. Not boot prints, hooves, fresh, heavy, circling where he'd camped. Someone had been there while they slept. Someone. On horseback, he scanned the ridge with narrowed eyes. Nothing moved. Just as he turned back, the younger girl stirred. Her lips parted. One word came out, breathless, almost inaudible. He's still out there! Silas didn't ask who. He didn't need to. He loaded the girls into the wagon, and this time he didn't look back. Rain didn't fall out here, it drifted, like it was too tired to reach the ground. Silas watched it smear across the wagon tarp in silver streaks as the wheels creaked through a low pass of dying pine and wet stone. Somewhere ahead, the mountains, curved like broken teeth, far from any township, far from any help. The girls hadn't spoken since that whisper. They sat curled together beneath the wool blanket, damp curls sticking to their foreheads. One of them coughed, not hard, but enough to make Silas glance back. He didn't speak. Just flicked the reins gently. They hadn't eaten in 2 days. The last squirrel he'd caught was now bone, and the berry bush had gone bitter with frost. The land was turning cold, before its time. That night, he built a fire in the shelter of a ravine, between slabs of stone that cradled the flames like a dying prayer. He laid out what little he had, dry bread, 1 jar of canned apricots. The girls ate in silence, fingers too thin, movements too quiet. Then came the scream, sharp, guttural, animal, not far. Silas grabbed the rifle from the tree line. 2 glowing eyes emerged, low, hungry, pacing, a Volf, then a second. The girls froze. Silas stepped in front of them slowly, rifle raised. But the wind shifted, and the scent of blood must have told the wolves he wasn't worth the trouble. They turned, slinking back into the dark. He stood there a while, breath steady, muscles tight. Only when the fire crackled again did he sit down. The twins hadn't moved. But one of them, the smaller one, began to rock gently, her hand on her sister's arm. Then she whispered, one name. Mara. The other girl looked up, startled. Their eyes locked, and the silence between them cracked like glass. It was the first time he'd heard either of them say a name. Mara, Silas repeated, low. The taller girl blinked, then pointed to herself, then to her sister, Lena. The smaller one said, her voice dry as dust. He nodded. Committed it to memory. Mara, Lena, not shadows anymore. Not ghosts. Names. That night he dreamed of fire, of bells, of a child running barefoot through ash. And in the center of it, a man with a black hat and a heavy cross around his neck. By the next morning, Lena was limping. Her right foot had swollen red beneath the heel. Silas crouched beside her by the creek and unwrapped the cloth. The blister was deep, split, dirty. He cursed under his breath. No supplies. No clean bandages. No medicine. He ripped a strip from his shirt and wrapped it gently. But by evening, her skin was hot, and her breaths came faster. He sat by the fire, jaw clenched, one hand trembling against the rifle. And that's when she stepped out of the smoke. No sound. No announcement. Just the flicker of long hair and the glint of metal bracelets. She walked barefoot across the stone, a woman old as the hills, wrapped in layers of brown and ash, Apache. Her face was lined, her eyes unreadable. Silas stood sharply, rifle half raised. She didn't flinch. Just looked at the girl, then at him, and then she knelt. From a leather pouch she pulled crushed leaves, a small clay vial, and a folded cloth that smelled of pine and smoke. She worked silently, cleaning the wound, applying the paste. Lena winced. Mara watched with wide, solemn eyes. Silas didn't move. When the woman finished, she looked up. Asterisk, no questions. No words. Asterisk, just a nod toward the fire. Toward the girls. Asterisk, then. She sat across from him. They didn't speak for a long time. The flames popped and hissed. Asterisk. Then she whispered, voice like the wind through trees. Asterisk, you walk with the wounded. Silas looked into the fire. So do you. She didn't smile. Instead, she pulled something from her pouch. A small wooden carving, crude old, of two deer standing side by side. Asterisk, she handed it to Mara, who took it with shaking hands. Asterisk, then, just as quietly as she came, the woman rose and vanished into the smoke again. Asterisk, they traveled slower. Now, asterisk, Lena's foot began to heal, slowly, tenderly. Asterisk, Mara stayed close to her sister. Eyes darting off into the horizon, Asterisk and Silas began to hear it. That silence between the girls was not empty. It was coded, a glance, a brush of fingers, a shift of breath. They spoke without speaking. And they had for a long, long time. Asterisk, one night, while they slept, Silas pulled the child's drawing from his satchel again. The backside still re-Edenridge. But something in the firelight made the image come alive. Asterisk, he saw the house, the flames, the figure, and then he remembered. Edenridge wasn't just a town. Asterisk, it was the mission where Reverend Amos Kane took in war orphans during the Great Scourge. A man of the cloth, loved by many. Asterisk, but behind closed doors. Asterisk, rumors, strange disappearances. Children who came but never left. Asterisk, Silas remembered his wife's hands trembling when she read the article. The names. The missing girls, asterisk, he'd buried. It with everything else, until now, asterisk, 3 days later. The river rose and the wagon stuck in the mud. Asterisk, he waded waist deep to pull it loose. Rain soaking his back, hands blistered from the rope. The girls huddled beneath the tarp, their eyes full of quiet panic. Asterisk, when he finally freed the wheel, his muscles screamed. Asterisk, as they camped under a cliff's edge. Silas collapsed beside the fire, coughing. Mara stepped forward. She placed something. In his palm, it was the cross, the one from the drawing. Asterisk, the one that matched the one he'd buried with his wife. He looked up. Where'd you get this? Her lip trembled. She pointed at her sister, Lena, then she pointed at her own chest. Asterisk, and shook her head. Not hers. Taken. His breath caught. They weren't just survivors. They were escapees. Asterisk. He looked at the cross again. Cold, heavy. Asterisk, it wasn't. Salvation they carried? It was a warning. Asterisk, that night. He sat on watch, knife in hand. Rifle at his side. Rain pattered gently. Then he saw it, floating along the creek, caught in a dead branch, a piece of parchment. He pulled it free. Wanted poster, asterisk, Reverend Amos Kane, for arson, child trafficking, murder. Last seen, Edenridge. The drawing on the poster was older than the one the girls carried, but the face was the same. Asterisk, the cross gleamed in charcoal. Asterisk, he stood. Breath stuck in his throat. Then he heard a rustle behind him, the old woman. Naomi stood again at the tree line, still, watching. Asterisk, she stepped forward, just enough to meet his eyes. You're heading toward the fire, she whispered. Not away. Asterisk, and then she disappeared into the trees once more. The road into Edenridge was barely a path anymore. Asterisk, weeds split the earth. Bones of wagons rusted where they'd been abandoned. A church bell lay sideways in a dried-up stream, cracked down the middle like it had tried to scream something long ago, and no one had listened. Asterisk, the sky was pale. Not gray, not blue, just drained. Asterisk, Silas walked now. The wagon had broken a mile back, its wheels shattered against a hidden root. He carried Lena on his back, her arms around his neck, her breathing shallow. Mara walked beside him, holding the wooden carving the old woman had given them. Asterisk, no one spoke. Asterisk, the town was a ruin of itself, a main road of skeletal buildings and scorched signs. The mission house stood at the far end, its windows black, its walls half swallowed in ivy and ash. The cross above the door had fallen and split in two. Lena stirred. That's where, she whispered. Silas nodded. They entered through a door that didn't creak. It simply sighed. Asterisk inside, the old chapel was silent, broken pews. A rusted lantern. Scorch marks climbed the walls like the ghost of a fire that hadn't finished its work. Asterisk, then a voice came from the altar. Asterisk, deep, measured, sweet as poison. Asterisk, you came after all. Silas turned, stepping between the girls and the pulpit. A man stepped out of the shadows. Asterisk, black coat, silver cross. Eyes that never blinked. Reverend Amos Kane, older now, but not weaker. His hands were folded as if in prayer, but one thumb rested against a revolver on his belt. Asterisk, you've done a terrible thing, the Reverend said softly. You've taken what doesn't belong to you. They're not yours, Silas replied. They're lost souls. A pause, and I saved them. Asterisk behind him. Marat's hand tightened on Silas's coat. Kane took a step down from the altar. You don't understand what these children carry. What they've seen, what they are? Asterisk. They're children, Silas growled. That's enough, asterisk. They're broken, just like you. That made him stop. The Reverend stepped closer. Asterisk. You couldn't save your wife. You couldn't save? Your daughter. Now you think this is your second chance? Silas didn't move. I remember you, Kane murmured. Your wife wrote me once, begging for medicine. Said she'd give anything to keep her girl breathing. Silas's jaw tightened. I sent her what I could, but some things aren't meant to be saved. Asterisk behind him, Lena coughed. The sound echoed like a gunshot. Kane's smile returned. They belong with me. Silas lifted the rifle. You'll walk away. Or you won't walk. The Reverend's smile slipped. You'd kill a man of God? Asterisk, you're not a man. Of God? A pause. Then Kane moved, fast, snake smooth, reaching for the gun. Silas fired. Glass shattered. Wood splintered. The shot caught Kane in the shoulder, spinning him backward into the pulpit. Asterisk Silas shouted, Run! The girls darted behind the pews, crouching low. Kane rose, bleeding but alive. He screamed something that was supposed to be a sermon, but it came out like thunder and filth. Asterisk another shot rang out. Kane's this time. The bullet struck the altar stone. Sparking, Silas charged. They met in a clash of fists and fury. Asterisk the rifle clattered to the ground. Kane slammed Silas into a pew, fists flying. Silas elbowed free, grabbed the heavy cross from the altar floor, and swung. Asterisk it hit Kane across the face with a crunch. He stumbled back, but reached for the revolver again. Then a shadow moved. Mara asterisk small. Silent. Asterisk she lifted a burning log from the fire pit. Kane had lit earlier. She threw it. It struck the curtain behind the pulpit. The fabric went up in flame like it was waiting to burn. Smoke flooded the room. Silas grabbed the girls, pulling them toward the back. Kane shouted behind them. I'll find you. You belong to me? Asterisk they burst through the chapel doors as fire swallowed the walls. Asterisk outside. Rain began to fall, real rain, clean, heavy, forgiving. They camped by the river that night. No wagon, no fire. Just earth and sky and stars. Asterisk Silas sat with a bandage on his side, blood soaking through. Asterisk Mara curled against his shoulder. Lena lay with her head in his lap. None of them spoke for a long time. Then Mara whispered, He's gone? Silas nodded. She looked up at him. Asterisk, are you our papa now? He didn't answer, but his hand found hers and held it. Asterisk by morning the sky was clear. The road stretched westward, quiet and long. Asterisk Silas didn't know where they'd go. The past was behind them, but it wasn't dead. Asterisk still. Something new had taken root. A second chance, not clean. Not easy, but real. As they walked, Mara took out the drawing again. Asterisk only now. There was something different. She'd added a third figure, a man, holding their hands. Asterisk his face was rough. Scarred kind. Asterisk Silas saw it. And for the first time in years he let the corner of his mouth rise. Not a smile, but something close. In the trees behind them, a figure watched. The old woman. Naomi. She smiled, turned, and vanished into the forest mist.